session. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Eamon, you want to read the mission statement?
Yeah, sure. Logansport Parks and Recreation is committed to improving the quality of life for Loganland residents by preserving land, facilities, the environment, and our natural heritage, and by creating significant opportunities for recreation, conservation, relaxation, and education for now and future generations.
Thank you. Before we get started, I want to recognize some people. First, our city council members that are in the crowd tonight, Dave Morris, Susie Walmsley, and Cameron Austin. We also have representatives here from the Logansport Carousel Board and the Little Turtle Waterway. We have Jan's staff here as well.
I get to introduce them. Here in the blue shirt is Kara Yax, our recreation director. She also served on our master plan team. Next to her is Kevin Price, our superintendent, our maintenance superintendent, one of the hardest working men you'll ever know. And back here behind the screen is Kelly Smith, our administrative assistant, and she keeps everybody honest. Is Dean here? There's Dean Vietti, our golf manager and pro. We're glad to have him there. And I'm Jan Foley, the parks administrator. And we have a super team, and I have to commend all these people. They work hard every day and make sure our community has the greatest parks in the community in the whole world. So I'm very proud of them and proud of our parks. So
Absolutely. Okay, you all got a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any additions or subtractions that need to be made?
No.
Okay, with there being none, we'll move on to the old business and the presentation of the final draft of the 5-year master plan. Jan?
I'd like to introduce our master plan consultants. Brian McNerney is here in the blue plaid. Brian's been the lead on this and become a good friend over all of this work. And then next to him is Austin Hochstetler from ZEC 8. He's been the numbers guy, and he's been really helpful in helping us see some of the things that were not obvious before. So, and next to Austin is Jamie Geiger, who has been she's with Context Design too, and she's been more in the background than today. This is the first time I've met her, but I know she's been doing stuff there at Context Design. So take it away, guys.
All right, we're going to come to the table so we can use the screen, but quickly wanted to just tell you that we're going to kind of give you just a quick overview of this document. There's a lot in there. Jan has posted several things on the project website, on the Parks website. There's a link to the master plan there where you can get all these documents as well. And we'll be gathering any comments you all have tonight, additional questions, holding that for finalize our process, and we'll be getting this submitted to DNR for final approval before their April 15th deadline.
If you and try to use the microphone as much. That's the
Will
microphone right
do.
there. Okay.
How's that?
Yeah. Can you hear that? Okay. You think? Okay.
Test. All right, there we go. That's a little bit better. Like I said, we're going to go through this fairly quickly because there's a lot here. But we do encourage you to provide. We have comment sheets, and if you didn't get one of those, please take one on the way out because we've given you an opportunity to email that to us by the 21st if you have any additional thoughts, questions, comments. So on screen, we're gonna go through a lot of this fairly quickly. So Jan already talked about our team. This is kind of the table of contents. So all the stuff in this book, a lot of these are required by DNR to meet their grant requirements. So you got an agency profile, facilities inventory, community profile, public participation, plan of action, and then all the kind of document and resolution that we need. And then appendix that has a lot of the data, backup information, full survey documents, everything that's kind of summarized before that. So our planning area, very simple. It's the corporate limits of the city. We did a full inventory of all parks facilities, including the Penman office building and the maintenance facility. This also includes trails. We have a trail map in the book. That one's not in here, but there's also a separate trail map. So in the front here, we have our goals that really are the culmination of everything this process has brought to bear. And so there were really kind of 7 themes, and we'll get into these a little bit more toward the end. This is also, so you've seen the boards tonight. Hopefully you had a chance to vote on this, but there were some options for the vision statement, the mission statement, and kind of based on some values. This was a process that Austin helped to lead, and he'll get into that kind of at the last piece, which is, I think, a really exciting part of this as a kind of a finishing piece of it. Agency profile, I'm not going to go into this too much, but this one example of an item that in this document, as opposed to the last master plan, you're going to see a lot more graphics in here, a graphic-heavy document that really tried to be a little bit more descriptive in that way, as opposed to a lot of text and charts and things like that. So that's one example of that. Austin, I'll get to the end of this, but this is one of the sections that Austin's team worked on to get a lot of the data for the benchmarking.
And so the benchmarking, it is a lot of data, but this is the point where you can really look to see how the city of Logansport stacks up, if you will, to national median averages when it comes to acres of parkland per thousand, number of trails, staffing levels, operational support, capital funding, et cetera. So we flew by that, but you can basically see in the document a breakdown of Logansport based on national averages, where we kind of compare and where we kind of align, and where there's some discrepancies, if you will. So this is kind of a foundational process that we looked at to really start getting towards operating support, capital spending, and programmatic opportunities and expansions. So this lays a framework for how we can leverage those things in the future.
So quickly back to I mentioned the inventory. So we visited our site probably at least twice, some of them 3, for various reasons to kind of get additional data. This is kind of a summary that you saw on the board of just some of the features graphically shown. And then this is a chart that was not, I think, part of the last master plan. It was more of a spreadsheet style. And so again, we try to create some graphics that speak to the park facilities, what's offered there, is there programming happening there currently, is there sort of a featured community event, are there restrooms, and so on and so forth in terms of amenities offered there. Again, I mentioned the focus of our study is the corporate limits, but we wanted to at least acknowledge that there are regional 10-minute drive, call it, things, France Park, other features. So things to keep in mind as we looked at all the data. We saw that map. Obviously, we think about what's fee-based, what's not fee-based, and some of the public input we get, kind of centers around that. This is just one park in Chapter 3 in the inventory that is an example for you. So Jan did a really awesome job kind of helping to write some of the history and narrative of these, and we took some of that information and kind of put it in bullet point form, and then charts and maps. So each park in this chapter has a section kind of like this with some narrative, kind of outlines the major features of each facility with an aerial map, and then we kind of go through some of the bullet points of the inventory, some high-level comments that were received for each one, some of the quick opportunities that arose, and then each one also has some notes about ADA accessibility, which is a requirement of DNR to address that in the master plan. And then each one also has a suite of images. We took a lot of pictures for this process over the last, from about the October of 22 until now. I probably have thousands of pictures. So we can get you all those, Jan, so you have all of them.
Gee, thanks.
again, kind of, and this is the other part of that. I did want to highlight this park in particular because it's a good example of I mentioned we started this process in the fall of 22, really got into it heavily early in 23, but the Parks Department has been doing a lot of really good things even in the process of this master plan, like the Wright Street Park, some playground improvements, things that are kind of already in motion that we kind of note and acknowledge in the document. And then some of Kara's great work. So we wanted to include this. This is the 2024 schedule, and I obviously won't go through this stuff, but I wanted to mention this because I think it was really one of the goals of this process was to better think about and tie together the programming that you have with the facilities you have and then the potential that you kind of have. And you'll see, I think, in the goals, there's a lot of commentary about those opportunities. Community profiles. This is another one of the sections that Austin was heavily involved in. So I will pass you the mic and get.
And don't strain your eyes on any of the charts, but there's actually a board in the back of the room that has all this. But one of the requirements for DNR is actually looking at the community profile, but it's also just a planning best practice as well. So like, who is it that we're serving? What are the trends? And so this is a rich analysis of demographics, socioeconomic status, ALICE data, which is actually up there on the screen, which is actually data from United Way that actually looks at, for a long time we look at poverty levels of communities, and like that's a benchmark that we look at for socioeconomic status. While ALICE is actually looking at asset limited, income constrained, but employed populations. So it's basically looking at, a community's poverty level may be X, but actually there's more households that maybe qualify as an ALICE household, meaning they just don't have as many opportunities connected to other quality of life amenities and opportunities. And so all of this information is in this chapter that's basically describing more about the community. What were the trends 5 years ago? How does that project 5 years in the future? And it also includes an analysis of recreation activity consumption. So what does the market research show for the proclivity to participate in soccer or team sports, or outdoor recreation activities and things like that nature too. So this chapter is really getting into the nitty-gritty weeds of who are we as a community and what are all those different factors. And so again, it's on the board in the back. There's one with a lot of different charts on there, but basically comes down to commentary about service pricing, accessibility and inclusion, and river water access and leveraging those water resources for water, recreation and pedestrian access and things like that. So again, that's a brief synopsis, but that's a meaty chapter, a lot of numbers, a lot of charts, and they all tell that story about those things that I'm talking about right now.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jan, but I think these are posted on the project website individually as well. They were posted a while back.
The benchmark information and the demographic is already there on the website. Yep. Uh-huh.
So you can find it there. So I'll go through this fairly quickly, but this is a really important part of this process is the public engagement and trying to do that in a number of different ways. And I think this project has hit the mark there. We've gone, I think, a little bit above and beyond maybe even what a normal master plan might do to kind of cover all age ranges and try to get engagement in a number of different ways. So we started the process with a kind of a kickoff that was actually in this room with Jan's staff, the full maintenance staff, the golf course folks, kind of everybody, which was a really good way to kick this off and kind of get some things on the table of their concerns, ideas. And then we got into a series of different public engagement methods, starting with a statistically valid survey, which you can speak this too, but essentially it's a way to get metrics that you really can hang your hat on because you are getting a broad sample of the community and making sure that all demographics are represented well. So that was the first step we did, got those results, and did separate that data from any of the other data that we did receive. So then there was an online community survey, which was very successful. We ended up doing a youth survey that started late in 23. That was very successful too. We were able to collaborate with schools, and there were over 700 responses to that. We had our public open house back in June at Riverside Park, and that had included a day of some stakeholder meetings as well with various groups throughout the community. And then, obviously, we're meeting tonight. We've taken all that information. We've reviewed that with Jan's team and the board a number of times too, and some of that's been posted on the website. So yeah, very, a lot of different ways that we've engaged the public to get input. And then, so a lot of that data is ended up in the booklet, kind of looking like this, where we've tried to summarize that in terms of the responses and kind of categorize some of that. And I'll touch on this a little bit when we get to the goals, kind of the result of overlaying all this. This was the public open house, and then these are some images from the Riverside event. A lot of information here. I'll just skim over this, but we took a ton of notes during the stakeholder meetings too in June from all these groups. Jan, I don't know if there's anything you want to specifically touch in this section, but I mentioned the youth survey. I think was very, very interesting in terms of overlaying it with the other data we had and kind of really realizing that there's some barriers there in terms of transportation to get to certain parks. I think the biggest takeaway that I have from this is that it reinforced a lot of what we were hearing from the board and Kara and Jan and others about the tween age kids and high school kids not really having specific places to hang out. So that's a big takeaway from this.
If you look at, go back. One more page. Go back one more page. No, okay, one more. There, one more, go one more forward. That one. Question 6 is, where do you spend most of your free time? 78% of the kids said they spent most of their time at home, and 31% said it was on computers or video games. 27% were watching TV. That's pretty sad numbers, I think. And I think that's one of the things that was one of the reasons, when I went to Brian and we started talking about this, was that I want to craft our recreation program around what the community, what we find here. And so that's one of the biggest numbers that I think that we have to address. And Susie said here a couple weeks ago, we can't do it all. We're not the only ones that are doing stuff, but I think it's important that people know that that's a pretty sad number. That's what kids are doing, is just hanging around home all the time. They're not out enjoying weather and the things that are in our community. And we really need to do a better job of reaching our kids. So.
No, that's a good point, and to kind of build on what I mentioned earlier with really just sort of providing those flex spaces where kids can kind of get together and hang out. I think the data that you just mentioned reflects that. I think there's also some numbers talking about, why are you going to a certain place for enjoyment, of course, but then their friends are there is like a 50% response. So it's about giving them a place to just sort of gather in small groups.
Right.
Do we think those numbers were slightly skewed because the survey was taken in the winter? Do you think that had anything to do, what I'm saying, if you had done the survey in the summertime? I don't remember if it was done in the winter or not. Would the numbers change possibly?
Completed in December, so.
Yeah, it was November, December, it
I don't know,
was.
you might speak to that better than I can. I don't know that it would skew that a whole lot. I think the way
We wouldn't have gotten a return in the summer. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten that many kids to respond to it in the summer.
Okay.
So,
But I know that those numbers are
because
definitely.
we did this with the school, with
Kids are
the
like that.
intermediate and the junior high schools.
That is a good question, though, because I didn't mention this, but it was administered like at school as well. So they were given some time to do this adequately and in a safe place.
Right.
And with that relationship kind of forged, I mean, that might be a good opportunity to do it again, replicate it, but do it every season to kind of see those.
Compare it again. Yeah.
Well, and I think, even though when we looked at the survey, a lot of the things, soccer was at the top of things that kids wanted to do. So as they were doing this, they were thinking outside of just the month of December when they were
Right.
filling out their survey. So I don't think that it might have had a little bit of effect
Right,
on it.
just some random thought.
Yeah, no,
Top of my head.
it's great thought. It's great thought, so.
So kind of all of that, to be honest, then leads to really kind of crafting the needs analysis, which is in this sheet, just sort of as a summary of some of that. We've talked through a lot of these things already. Issues from the public input. We talked about transportation, safety, fee-based programming. And then the second category, investment needs, and I'll kind of touch on that a little bit more with the goals that came out of all this. So it's kind of another way to sort of break down everything that we received into themes and categories. And then we kind of got together as a team. Well, actually, Jan kind of took a first pass. I think you reacted to a lot of what you were seeing and hearing, just knowing this community and their parks that well.
Yeah.
Jan kind of took a first pass at the first step in the plan of action, which was like, okay, from all of this, what are really our high level goals? So we ended up with a lot of goals. I think that we wanted to be realistic about this and not have pages and pages of things that may not get on the agenda for the board and the park staff to be able to tackle. But I think these are really good lists, and they're broken down by really where we thought what's realistic to happen in year 1 to 3, maybe 3 to 5, and then even 5 plus. Being realistic about certain things that just probably won't need to be planned for, but probably won't happen within 5 years. This page, I could read all these, and I won't do that, but just some general park strategies that came out of this. So the tagline here was continual assessment, improvement, and evaluation of service with an emphasis on better connecting programming with facilities and consistent public outreach. And that really, I think speaks to some of the goals that we started with in the process, and coming back to extracting things out of this whole pool of goals that we wanted to achieve and saying, okay, well, what are some of the things there that then really kind of apply to the system-wide? Just a few of these that I'd like to point out. Getting the board and the staff to kind of get together a little bit more often for a retreat or sessions where you all can kind of revisit these things a little bit more often, I think is important. Another big one, we've kind of recommended that some feasibility studies might actually come out of this as well. So you could probably speak to some examples of this too, but something like a recreation center, that's an idea that a lot of people love, but if it just stays as a bullet point on this list, you're never really going to make that leap to kind of figure out how to maybe roadmap that. So there are some interim steps for big ideas like that I think need to happen. You'll see in here too, like a riverfront master plan was even one of the suggestions, but feasibility studies for the maintenance facility. Where's really the best fit to move that to? What makes the most financial sense? And then what do you kind of do with that property if that moves in the future? So some of those kind of things. So goal number 2, centered around maintenance, and the tagline there was improve general maintenance and maintenance planning for all properties. I think that's really one of the big takeaways from the surveying, was that there are what we've classified as signature parks in the community that residents really just want to see improvements in those, better upkeep, better maintenance, and then kind of pick your battles with some of the other elements. So that's really kind of reflected here. The big one on the 5-year was, I just mentioned, construct a larger maintenance facility, which I think has kind of been on the radar for a long time, but kind of needs some additional study beyond this master plan to roadmap that. Goal 3 was facilities and amenities. Provide newer renovated amenities and/or facilities as documented through the completed surveys. So again, this is really kind of categorizing all the top elements that came out of the surveying and really then sort of putting them into those buckets of 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, and 5 years plus. Enhanced signature parks. So I mentioned a minute ago that one of the things that came out of analyzing the data and the surveys was that you kind of needed to classify the parks a little bit, and I'll get to a map in a minute that sort of shows that. So signature parks, that means like your Spencer Park, Riverside, the most kind of cherished parks in the system, and specifically what are some things in the surveys that came out of that. I would point out that another sort of a successful venture that's been going on since we started the process was some things with the golf course, which, you've raised a bunch of money for the clubhouse, and there's a lot of great momentum there. So kind of building on those sort of successes, I think is important too. So this addresses some things with Riverside, Dykeman, Spencer, Muehlhausen, and Little Turtle Waterway. Public outreach was goal number 5. So I know as Kara was brought on board with the staff, there was just more outreach building, more social media, more press releases, things like that, and I know that's evolved over time. So this was really, again, trying to make sure that you're budgeting for the things that she's doing and trying to expand on with that outreach to the public, and really kind of letting the public know more of your successes and what you're doing, and that you are hearing what folks are saying in the surveys and addressing those elements. Programs was number 6. So again, these were kind of categorized 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5. This is a pretty big list, but would point out that, utilizing the youth survey that was done, which is not always done with these master plans. I think it's maybe 50-50, but a really important piece. So to build on that information, there's been a community calendar coordination, I call it, that Kara's been involved in, and with other folks planning things in Logansport and around the area. So continuing with that and utilizing the information from this study to expand that. And then I would hit on the 5-year, the after-school drop-in idea was another kind of component of this idea of maybe eventually having a recreation center that could provide those kind of spaces for certain age groups that are maybe a barrier to them interacting with the parks more. And then lastly, the number 7 was park classification and best land use. So again, this was kind of looking at the idea that we want to make good use of all park land, and if there are some opportunities for things to be repurposed, those should be at least in the conversation. And so I'm actually just going to go right to. Oh, and this section also has a number of things about various funding sources that can be sought after.
I need a grant writer. Somewhere in here it needs to say, hire a grant writer.
Oh, shoot. Apologies, it looks like that map is not showing up. The map that I'm referring to, though, is the one right here to my left. So that map was looking at classifying the parks a little bit more specifically. So there were signature parks are the green ones, so that's the ones I mentioned before, so kind of Dykeman, Riverside, Spencer, amongst that group. There are a few other smaller parks that were looked at maybe could be repurposed in the future, and then the orange were ones that probably need some enhancement. And then the purple is actually looking at Florida Nature Preserve, and the note there, again, kind of speaks that idea of that's a unique property that you could probably do some really big ideas there in terms of adventure park. That was one of the things that showed up on the surveys as a desirable amenity, something that could have some revenue potential on a big piece of land that could have some partnerships with it. So again, another element, though, that might want to have a feasibility study around it to really understand what the costs to do that would be, who the partners could be, and roadmap a process for that. So that is the action plan section. And then we have, I think tonight there needs to be a resolution. If we can take questions, but I think we need a motion to do a resolution, and that would be the board approving this contingent upon the DNR's approval of the final document. So once we gather this input tonight, we will make additional edits to the documents, and then that will be submitted to DNR one more time for their final blessing, and then all of the signed paperwork that approves this plan will all be put into Chapter 7. And then behind that, you just have a lot of pages of appendices of all the surveys and the full documents that we created through the process.
Did you want to, before we get to, and I didn't write a resolution. I wrote one, but I didn't put it into our agenda for tonight. I thought we would do that.
Sure.
We'll do a final resolution at our April meeting.
Okay, you could do that.
That approves
I
that.
have the document.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Until April. So
But I thought, let's talk about the mission statement and vision statement and values.
I'll talk briefly about this. So over here, there's two boards. They're the same board. We just didn't know how many people would be here to vote and stuff like that. So there's two boards that are identical over here. And so coming into this, there was an existing mission statement, and it was read at the beginning of this meeting. So Logansport Parks and Recreation is committed to improving the quality of life for Loganland residents by preserving land, facilities, the environment, and our natural heritage, and by creating significant opportunities for recreation, conservation, relaxation, and education for now and future generations. And then I can breathe. So it's a long mission statement, but mission statements are operational. It's what business do we do? What's our purpose? How do we conduct ourselves? That's the mission. Well, coming into this planning process, this was another opportunity to kind of redefine and check in. Are we still doing what our mission statement is? And oftentimes when we do planning processes, it affords you that opportunity to kind of check back in. And so that's what we did in this process. And so what we did was we did a facilitated exercise where we answered a bunch of questions as staff, as park board members, and we took all the data that was scrolled through here up on the boards, etc. And we basically started doing this at the end of the process that said, what business is it that we're in? What purpose do we serve for our residents and for our community? But then also, what is the vision? Where do we want to cast our net and cast it wide to basically answer the question, what is the ideal state of Logansport, parks and recreation? And so by doing that process, we actually formulated two examples of either mission statement and vision statement. Now, and if you haven't voted yet, feel free to take a sticky dot over here and vote for something that you gravitate towards more. We know there's probably going to be a little wordsmithing associated with them, but we have two examples up here. And so for the vision, we have one that's really about transforming communities, so inspiring connection of wellness through vibrant, inclusive parks that serve as dynamic hubs for recreation and enrichment. And it should be noted that vision statements are far-reaching, so if you ever achieve your vision, it's time to recast the vision, because the vision represents what you're chasing after. What's that ideal state of what you're trying to describe? And the other vision statement is the first choice in recreation, or maybe first choice in outdoor recreation, but first choice in recreation, leading with progressive stewardship and community engagement, creating safe, inviting, and well-equipped spaces where people of all ages and abilities thrive. So you start seeing in that statement, you start seeing about inclusiveness, you see about engagement, you see about taking care of what we have, and people of all ages and abilities participating. And then with the proposed mission statements, one is more towards enriching lives through recreation. What do? We provide inclusive access to diverse recreational, cultural, and leisure opportunities for all residents and visitors. And then the second one is more about fostering being. It's building a vibrant and healthy community through accessible recreational facilities and programs that promote physical health, social engagement, and cultural appreciation. And why it's important to have mission statements and vision statements is because it, again, helps us with decision making, and also it's easier to say sometimes we're not going to do something because it doesn't really align with our mission and our vision. Like, that's something that doesn't meet what we're trying to do, but also it's a decision point of that meets what we want to do very well. And then we took it a step further and actually started developing a list of values. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values on the board as well, talking about collaboration, integrity, inclusiveness, stewardship, safety came up a lot in our needs assessment, innovation, and communication. And so these are things that we can now look to hold staff accountable. A lot of organizations utilize values to how you actually hire staff and how you actually, create work plans and goals for each other too. But it's also a direct way of telling your community, these are the things that are our foundational tenets. These are our core. These are the things that we uphold and we will strive towards. And so all that to say, this is a newer process because we're rechecking the mission statement and providing some tweaks and additions, but creating a new vision statement that didn't exist before, and also setting forth values that didn't really exist before. Not saying it didn't have values, but you know what I mean. It didn't have a set of values documented on the board. And so again, if you all want to participate, feel free to sticky dot over there. Looks like we're already gravitating towards number 2 a little bit more. So that's the process.
Do you want to hear from the public development?
Yes. And I think that's part of the.
We're here just a
that's part of the
second, yes,
Yeah. So that's the process.
okay. Okay, public remarks? So you have to step up and give your name and your address, please, sir?
Yeah, please come to the microphone if you would.
Yep, right there.
That's the microphone, that thing on the desk there.
Hi, my name is, excuse me, Charles Jenks. I live at 1251 Smith Street, right next to Houston Park and the Hervey Preserve. And, concerning the mission statement, one thing, I actually voted for the current mission statement because the proposed mission statements, neither one of them mentioned preservation. The present mission statement, preserving land facilities, the environment, and our natural heritage. And you don't see that anywhere in the proposed missions or the values. And I think that's very important. So that's my input on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? Step right up, ma'am.
Thank you. I was thinking about the same thing. I'm helping renovate the home that Charlie's living at. I still have my little house in Lafayette, so I've 1 foot in each place. But the wilderness aspect of the parks, to me, is a great treasure. And when we read both of the second mission statements, they sound like they're drafted in an office and at a computer, facilities, and it could mean a parks department that had no nature, honestly. And you, Jan, spoke so wonderfully about the kids needing to be outdoors. The vitamin D, the learning opportunity is just enormous. The kids in front of their devices actually are handicapped in their brain development. And the wild places have so much to teach us on the whole. So I noted that back here, basketball was like #1 on the youth survey.
Yes.
And it's now part of the park that, is facing sale at Patriot Park, or divisions and chopping up. I think that the signature parks are the kinds of places that families bring their children, but they're not the kind of place the kids walk to on their own and hang out with their friends. The attractiveness of friendship, that someone mentioned, that I understand how important that is. I learned since I like particularly Patriot Park for the wilderness view, the view of the river there, and I haven't seen the birds I love so much from that view, but the construction site going on down, by the trails that we more normally hike, led me to explore Patriot Park more. And the kids on the basketball court today said that court is actually used for soccer play as well, and they estimate that about 50 people a week are using that. And it would seem that, having housing right next door to a basketball park probably, might interrupt putting the kids to bed when they need to get up the next day. So I just wonder whether we can consider the cost of letting little parks go. And I heard also from, I should say, a young man there pointed out the graffiti problem at Patriot Park, and I understand that. He didn't want kids to see the graffiti that was on the play structure on the inside. I didn't go inside it. I just saw the joyful families. Many didn't speak English, so they didn't participate in any surveys, probably. But bravo for all of the public input that you have already gathered. Fantastic work, fantastic planning in general. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yep, come on up.
This is, excuse me, Bill Bauman. I live at 610 Green Hills Drive. Not necessarily just to the plans that we're talking about today. I just haven't had time to come to a meeting. I'm the president of the Confluence Running Club. I used to run about 2,000 miles a year, mostly on the trails of Logansport, some at France Park too. Cycle about maybe 4,000 or 5,000 miles a year. I cannot express how great it has been to live in this community where if we saw something, we call the Parks Department and it gets taken care of. And there's not enough public comments that are positive. Most of the time you just hear negative. And then about 10 months ago, I had both my hips replaced. And the doctor that I went to in Indianapolis said, well, you probably don't have anywhere to walk that's safe. And I said, you know what? I got a place that's safe, that's flat, that's not full of a bunch of potholes and curbs and places like that. And he said, well, how many miles of that do you have? And I said, how many do you want? Because I can do a 10-mile loop without stepping on the street.
Absolutely.
And I don't think there's just enough public positive comments, and I should have been coming to more meetings and making that apparent, but apparently I was running my hips into room. So, specifically, since I've been in my recovery phases, I have appreciated the parks and the trails way more than I ever did before. I definitely took it for granted. And now when I have someplace that's safe to go, I've been using Houston Park more than ever because it's safe. And I was so impressed the other day when I got there to do my exercise, and there was not one parking spot left.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
Everybody
It's
was
been
there.
really, it's
So
been
thank you
like
to-
that tonight, too.
Thank you to all you and all of you and everybody that takes part in that. I know it takes a village, but thank you, and I'm impressed with everything you've done with the master plan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Any other comments? Park Board remarks on the mission statement and on the 5-year master plan.
Man, it was a great plan. It's just, it's kind of it shows what, it can really shows the passion of what Jan and Kevin and Kara, and then to get together with them to see that we have a plan, because we got to have a plan for what we're doing. Sometimes I feel like we don't have a concrete plan. A lot of times stuff just gets thrown at different meetings, like what are we getting into this month or whatever. To see such a well put together plan is exciting, and it's a great job, guys.
Well, we got to do that retreat. That's what we got to do next, so we can start thinking about our plans, or how to make these all happen.
Mike?
Somebody mentioned preservation, and one of the things that I have seen, by the way, I'm sorry I was late, I'm a school board member also and had something else to do. One of the problems I have seen since I've been on this board, and I come on by way of the school board, and so we're concerned about kids and that kind of stuff, is that oftentimes the funding that comes into the Parks Department is more at a maintenance level. We cut grass, we push snow, we cut trees, and so sometimes people's expectations of, why didn't you preserve this, why didn't you take care of this, because there is no funding for that. Now, what does that mean? You know, I've come to the point to realize that, you know, it's tight for the city council, controls the purse, and there's lots of requests they have. So it's not as easy as saying, yeah, I mean, by gosh, we should give more to the parks. Not that easy, so you got to take it from someplace else. So I think that, you know, we need to get, you know, obviously, they try to get a lot of folks involved in this survey, and you know, so if preservation is important, it's hard to say we're going to preserve stuff, but then no, back here, we're going to get the money to do it. So I think it's more of a case where we need to, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, these wonderful days of social media where everybody feels willing to belly up to the bar and give their opinion, but I don't ever see many crowdfundings where there's money being put back into the parks, and we have that opportunity. In some of when Jan was in West Lafayette, you know, the Parks Department was an integral part with their Economic Development Department, because people that they're trying to hire to come to Lafayette want to have trails, like we have trails and that kind of stuff. So I think we need to be aware that you know, I get a little nervous when we have a vision statement or mission statement or value statements where those things require funding. I oftentimes see that our staff is so tight that they're cutting grass Monday to Friday, but then when we got families in the parks on Saturday and Sunday, we don't have an abundance of staff there to say, oh, we're out of toilet paper in that bathroom, let me take care of that. We don't have the bodies to do that. So again, I think that, you know, that it's good to have these kind of statements because I think they help drive us forward. But we need to also realize, we need to educate the community. People feel like, and they probably should, I pay my taxes, and so you should have all the possible money you need because I pay my taxes. And I'm on the school board too, and people think the same thing with the schools. I pay my taxes, so the school should have brand-new microscopes every year or whatever. It's the same kind of thing, but we are a community, we are a village. So I just encourage everybody to continue. Those that, people here, you have shown interest in the parks, and we sure appreciate that. But we need to realize that for some of these dreams and hopes and things we have, and in some cases where we've, where some of these bathrooms we've had have gone, 30, 40 years before they were maintained or fixed or added a new toilet. We basically patch and fix. We don't really dream and vision and do those kind of things. So again, thanks for those that are here. I think it's great to get this kind of stuff, but we just need to, we need more money. Okay. I guess I said that 3 words earlier. We need more money, that's it.
Thank you. We need more money.
Jason?
Go ahead.
Thanks. I didn't say my name last time. Sunny Miller, and I do co-own property with Charlie at 1251 Smith Street. I hear you, Mike, and I knew that, money is, really crucial. And, for fixing the fence at Patriot Park, that takes money. I don't think we're going to get any volunteers for that. But a woman named Crystal, who has enjoyed Patriot Park for 40 years, said she would love permission to plant a little garden on that corner by the sign, and a little volunteering that you can see the results of. I said, I'll help you plant it. I've got lots of seeds and some bulbs too. So volunteering for that. And I admit to being too much of a teacher sometimes, but I have too many books. And when I was trying to communicate with people at the park, and they spoke, there was a young woman, probably high school age, who said she wishes she could learn Chu. Her background from Guatemala, that's their language, and she says, I'm afraid I won't learn it. But she's already translating into English. Well, I'd like to donate books for a once-a-week program, and one extra picnic table would really be good, or 2 at that park until it's turned over for housing development. Is there a spare picnic table or 2 that we could borrow there to experiment with the vitality that I see and the interest there? I think that there are people who need to learn English, and kids' books would help them too. So I don't know. And a shelter would make programs there. If we only put shelters at the big signature parks, then the kids will not go out to the park. If it might rain, they'll just stay home with the TVs. The playhouse and swings were just generating so much joy for all ages. The kids and the adults pushing the swings were having as much fun as the babies were. So the red, going into the red isn't the only option. We can go into the red-blooded, we've all got blood that runs red, and we could tap into that and perhaps start some more volunteering. Of course, I know that you need paid staff, absolutely.
Thank
Both
you.
are important.
Jason?
I just want to say I really like the plan. I think it's very comprehensive. I think adding the youth survey, even though it may not always be done, was definitely a good idea. Parks and kids go hand in hand. They're for everyone, but, we want our kids to be in the park. So I really think that was a good idea. I encourage people to take a look at, just to kind of piggyback on what's been said, there's a lot of data in that plan that explains things like, other towns that have this much acreage get 35 full-time employees, and we have 8. Other towns that have this much acreage have this much in their budget, and ours is like 30% of that. or whatever it is. I don't remember the exact numbers, but when I saw that, first, I don't know exactly why. I mean, I'm not a financial guy. I can't analyze what taxes come in and what everything's going for. But definitely, when you look at that, you can understand that we're underfunded and we're understaffed. And there's just no way around it for the amount of land that we maintain and the kind of programs that we're trying to do. So I too applaud the staff of the Parks Department at all levels because they're doing Herculean work. And it does get frustrating sometimes online when somebody complains about the weeds that didn't get cut. You know, I mean, okay, I get it, but, you know. So anyway, the 5-year plan I think is great. I love what we did in June. I love the plans we were looking at for Riverside Park and all the different stuff. So I'd encourage everybody to go online, take a look at all that again. And hopefully we can bring a lot of that to fruition in the next 5 years, because I think it's going to be great improvements for our system.
Okay. So I'll piggyback off some of the things that were said through visitors' comments. First off, I had a discussion on social media earlier in the week about the Parks Department staff has a hard time keeping things looking the way they should. And as Mike said, you know, it's hard for our staff to do that with all the mowing they have to do in the park. And I will throw out tonight the same thing that I threw out to this lady on her comment was through the Logansport Parks Board and the Logansport Foundation Board, and Kaylin Bauman and myself and Jan started this last year, but starting the spring, we're going to have one Sunday a month where we pick a park. Kevin's going to give us a list of what he'd like for us to do, and we're going to help our Parks Department staff get our parks looking nice. And we will ask for volunteers because our Parks Department staff is taxed to the limit right now. And all the help that we can give them to keep our parks nice, I know Kevin and Jan and everybody in the Parks Department would much appreciate all the help we can give them. It's very important. We all love our parks. We want to keep them nice, but our Parks Department staff needs help, and we're going to start a volunteer program this spring through the summer, one Sunday a month, to try to help address that. To the comment on the basketball courts over at Patriot Park, when we were asked 3 years ago, roughly, that we had a surplus of parks, and we were asked to come up with 7 that we would get back to the city if that became the plan. And we talked about at great length the playground equipment and the basketball courts at Patriot Park. But in that discussion, we also knew that we had the old Franklin School, which for most of that area of Patriot Park is 3 to 4 block walk or bike lane where there's a basketball court and there's a playground equipment. So as hard as that was, with that knowledge, that was one that we told the city that if it came to it, we would surrender as surplus park. Trust me, none of that came easy. It was a very ugly time for this park. Trust me. So we understand that, and you're right. Basketball was at the top, but we took into consideration the basketball court that was 3 blocks away at the school. So that was the decision that was made there. I love the master plan. Great work, guys. Jan, Kara, all of you, everybody who put effort into this. It's excellent, and looking forward to our next step and keeping this moving forward. And that's all. You got any comments, Jan?
You know, the one thing I'm thinking about, two things I noticed that we didn't address very much publicly is Riverside Park and the work that we need to do there. It's a lot of work. It's a big park. It's an important park. Lots of things are happening there, and we need to probably make a bigger deal of that. The other thing is our trails. And we have great trails now, but we need to expand them. And I can't remember who it said. Somebody mentioned it to me about that we need to make the trails. You know, when are we going to get out to France Park? And that's been one of the things we've dreamed about. But you know, Little Turtle Waterway Group has done that for all this for the last 30 years. Like, you suppose that's how long it's been, Susie? Probably. Mercedes, I don't know where she went. Anyway, oh, okay.
I saw her when I was coming in, she was running.
Oh, what?
She was leaving.
Anyway, but, you know, we want to get out to France Park with our trail, but that's you know, we really need, you know, we got to get across the river partly to connect Little Turtle Waterway across the river to the trail that could go out to France Park. So that's a big hurdle. And but we did it at Riverside to get across over to the River Bluff Trail, and so it can be done. It's just, you know, but that's I think we really need maybe more emphasis on in terms of our providing the amenities is making our trails bigger or longer. Went out to Ivy Tech. That's the other place that we've been talking about, and so we had the tour to Logansport for the local bicyclists anyway, that they can do about a 10-mile loop here in town using all our trails. You got to use some roads though too. So I don't know. Do you guys have that in our appendix? I don't know if we do.
We'll make sure it's in there.
I'll send you a copy of that.
We have added a trails map specifically in the inventory chapter now that
Okay.
the inventory map of the parks shows the trails, but then there's a second piece now. So
Okay.
that'd be a good segue to having them in the appendix and emphasizing the trail and river corridors as well.
I'll be sure to get that.
Yeah, good comments.
I've forgotten about doing that. So anyway. So our next steps, though, are to take the information you've heard today. Now, this is your last chance, folks. No, the information you've heard today, and any comments you get via your emails this coming week. And Friday is your last day, or this coming Friday, the week, not this Friday, the week from Friday. 21st.
Yeah, we asked for the 21st to have any final comments.
Anybody that had any other
To us.
additional comments?
Yes.
Go in there. Okay. And so I think we need to do that too. And I'll be sure that information gets out on our website and in a press release. I think Josh just left a little bit ago. So anyway, and then from there, we'll get our final document. Okay. And my plan is to have the resolution in the document for the April 10th meeting is our next Parks Board meeting.
Okay.
And they will approve that finally at that. Is that gonna work?
That's fine, yeah, and we'll have submitted to DNR by then, and we may have more comments from them that we have to address, and we'll quickly do that.
Okay.
Yeah, ready for in the days before the 10th.
Okay.
We have that resolution document, I think you mentioned that, ready to go. Just need to
Okay.
be reworded a little bit.
Okay. And then from there, it's our responsibility to keep that master plan alive. So,
Yep.
I mean, really, it's a living document. We'll make it change and fix it for things that come up and
Yep.
things that we got planned out in the future and all that, so.
Okay, so is there any other comments before we move on to new business on the master plan? Come right up.
got to watch out for these artist types, just too many creative ideas. I'm so excited, Dave, and I think that maybe we could have more than one Sunday a month, because invariably I can't come on that particular day. How about a competition of neighborhoods gathering people who want to help, and they bring some free things along with them to give away, a giveaway card table, to just attract, more volunteers
Sure.
who would never have thought of volunteering and don't like to sign up to anything online, but
Sure.
want to come. And thank you so much for proposing that, and kudos for the team that put that idea together.
I can't take the credit for it. This
Kaylin.
whole thing started last fall up at Mulehausen Park with the dog park, and it was Kaylin Bauman's idea from the Park Foundation. Jan and I give her all the credit for this idea. But you're right. We started out with one Sunday a month, just to try not to take time away from people every Sunday. But as this grows, maybe we can get to that point. We'll look for ways to improve it. We're starting out, as the saying goes, we're starting out with baby steps. So, and we'll look to improve it as we go on. So thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Fairview Park.
Thank you, Zach.
Fairview Park leases, and since this has to do with Logan Sport Youth Baseball and Babe Ruth Baseball, Jason, I will let you handle this part of the meeting because I'm recusing myself from this because I am a member of the Babe Ruth League, so.
Okay, so we do this every year. We look at the contract for the year. They're both in our packet. So I believe if I recall from last year, there are people that come and speak to this. Do we have those people here? Or do we have representatives from each one of those groups here to talk?
No, they were,
Okay.
Kelly let them off the hook because they provided us everything
They
we
gave
needed
us the
before the
documents?
meeting.
Okay. So, Jan, any other comments about the contracts? Did anything change
No,
or
this
anything?
is the same contract we've had with them for the last number of years. This is an annual contract now.
Okay.
We did do them every 3 years, but this will be their annual contracts now. So anyway, yeah, they're good. We get insurance, we get board member officers, coaches, get information on their checking accounts and all their stuff. That's part of what they have to return for us. And we give them, they take care of their own electricity and water costs, and so we don't charge them anything other than that, so.
Just purely out of curiosity, one contract is 6 pages, the other one's 8 pages. Is there anything radically different between them, or?
Probably,
There's 2 fields on the youth
Oh,
baseball
okay.
and the batting cage behind, so that's why there's more pages to that, so.
Okay, fair enough.
I would like to add one thing to and I know I've mentioned this before, but to the Steinman Field one, the first one, we will be putting up a new scoreboard this month at that facility that was donated to us through a corporation. So that will be an improvement that the Babe Ruth League is doing to the Steinman Field complex, so.
Great. Any comments from the board?
I would just say that, these are the kind of things, that we've had a partnership with both the Little League and Babe Ruth for a million years maybe. And they have been a good partner. So they have been, a lot of the times that people don't realize that a lot of the stuff, they actually pay for a lot of the upkeep and stuff on their own. And we appreciate that partnership. That's all I've had.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve these annual contracts as written?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that motion passes, and we will sign off on those annual contracts for the baseball groups.
Thank you. Okay. Administrators Management Report.
I'm going to start with, I just wanted to update you on the lower shelter at Spencer Park, first of all. We've had some issues definitely there. The Steinberger started trying to, and Kevin, help me if you might know this better than I do, but what happened was when they started trying to brace things, and they started, when they were trying to straighten things out, I guess a little bit, there was a little more uneasiness about that shelter, the safety of even being under it. And so what basically is that the concrete that is surrounding each pillar is not attached to anything. So there was really not any stability to those things. If the wood goes, it really goes. So what the new contract that or the amendment that we did here at the Board of Works earlier today is they're going to actually build a foundation with sonotubes that goes down into the ground, and they're going to do a whole new foundation for each pillar. And so that's going to be a lot more concrete, a lot more expense. And I think they're still trying to figure out exactly how that's all going to come together. But they're planning to be there. From the conversation I had with Chris Fry today, they plan to be there by next Monday, start working again. So, our fingers crossed. So, any questions on any of that? Mike and Dave both came down to meet with us one day, one morning when it was a weekday, so I know other guys couldn't be there, but, and we just, we came to the same thought. This is important to save, and I think that, because it's going to be a lot of money. It was an additional 60-something thousand, and we also put in a $15,000 contingency on that contract, and so we still have the money. We're okay that way. So, but we didn't have, we're spending more.
Well, and it was important to say, plus contracts were signed, materials were here. So even though it probably wouldn't have been a big deal, we didn't want mud on our face with Steinberger Construction and that, and a restock fee for materials that we would have been hit with. So, we made the decision on the fly, knowing that we had the money, just so we could keep Steinberger and Shepler, we could stay in their schedule for this month, because if we waited, we would have been out of schedule, and that thing's going to sit there for who knows how long before they get it back into their schedule. So it was quick moving, but it needed to be done. We didn't want to break contracts, and we had the money, so we went.
This is another example of how, in this case, the city council allocated money to make this happen. So, sometimes when people go into social media and they see negativity, doom and gloom, and think, oh gosh, nobody cares. That's not true. But it is a case where, in this case, we are thankful the city council stood up and said, yes, we want to preserve this. And, and obviously, to the earlier question, yes, if we preserved it every year for the last 100-some years, we wouldn't have to do this. But that, again, it goes back to money. So you pay then, you pay now.
Did you say that already earlier today?
Yeah, I'll just keep saying it until it goes into everybody. Where's Josh the paper at? But again, we are thankful that the city, again, because they have choices where they spend their money, and we appreciate the fact that we can, preserve that pavilion, and that they have provided the extra money to do that. So thanks to them.
Okay.
Okay, so, anyway, so there, next Monday, let's keep our fingers crossed, so things get going. Okay, the other thing that Kevin and I did, we worked with Dilling Group to examine our water system at the pool. And this is primarily in the bathhouse. Those pipes in that, I can't remember if I've actually said this to you guys or not, but they, I know I have told it. Anyway, but anyway, those pipes are the original pipes from 1955, and that should tell you right there. They're in bad shape. We're not getting any water pressure. There's so much debris in the pipes and things like that that it was time we had to address it. And so, what Kevin and I agreed was that we will not do the Penman roof. That was in our budget for getting that repaired or redone for this year. We took that out and asked the council to transfer that money to the pool, and that was $30,000. And gee, it was amazing. The bid came in at $29,000.
Imagine that.
So anyway, I don't know that they knew that or not, but because I never told them how. I suspected that's about where it was going to be. But so anyway, we did sign a contract with Dilling Group to get that work done. Hopefully, it's going to be all done and taken care of by the time we open the pool on June the 4th. So that's our goal. We might not have hot water. Because that's the impression I got from a message I got today is they're looking at timing on the hot water heaters, because it involves new hot water. It involves moving a gas line to use because all the hot water heaters are in this basement area that's like a dungeon. You don't want to go in there. So they're going to put new lines up to that one storage area that's right across from the chemical, the pump room that operates the pool. So it's all right up there on the deck, and so we can take care of it much better up there. So so that's part of it too, and I think that'll be nice to have hot water in the bathhouse for once. So so that's the other thing that's going on. And then in my management, I got lots of stuff in the management report, and I'll let Kevin tell you about all the work he's doing, but they're coming along great on the Bark Park and the playground. But I did invite the Lieutenant Governor to attend our ribbon cutting. So and we've scheduled that for somewhere in the time, and I'm going to let them if she's able to attend, because she oversees that money that we got. That's why I invited her. So. Anyway, it's the May 16th is the ribbon cutting date, and it'll be around the lunchtime, but I don't know exactly what day. So we did sell all of our 12 days of Christmas, cha-ching, and we also sold another gingerbread house to the Modern Real Estate, and all that stuff is ordered now. And we are going to be able to have a full circle Christmas in the park this year.
Awesome.
We're so excited about that.
Awesome.
And it's already done. We love it.
It's March.
I know it's just March, so more things are probably going to happen. The other thing about the Spencer and the Bishop shelters that are going to be done built this year, we did get Grand Industrial to give us the best quote on that, and it was approximately $30,000 to construct all 4 of them. And so what I would like to do is go to the redevelopment commission to ask us to have, because there's no money for, because I was hoping the Career Center was going to be able to do it, but they were not able to. So so that's why I got to have somebody to build it, and so I didn't put any money in the budget for that. So I'm gonna see if the RDC would be willing to help me get those built.
I think we know somebody on that.
I think we know somebody there. Okay. And then the other thing I think that you need to know is that the Little Turtle Waterway work is going on there by the depot and the all that ground around the depot. And part of that is a new game court for like a large chessboard, couple cornhole boards. We're talking about a concrete ping pong table and a concrete foosball table, kind of like what we saw in Fort Wayne. We saw those, yeah, those were pretty cool. So we're working on that with Aaron and Jacob Thomasville. And and Kevin is also working with someone to take care of the signal bridge, get it painted, and put in new lighting there at that too. So that's a lot of work right now. I did agree to take pictures. They have to have photographic records of everything for the grant. That's the red. Is that the Ready grant? Yeah, it's the Ready grant that we got from the regional. It's a regional thing that we got from the state, and so we got that done. And there was something else I wanted to. And Kevin's got. We signed a contract for fireworks with Night Magic, and he did inform me that this may be his last year to do that. So we may be looking for a new fireworks vendor for next year. So, and then I want to give a shout out to our full staff. They worked really. They came together and did our mission, vision, and value statements, just like you guys all did. We did it in a really good meeting, and they were very responsive and really helpful. And you can see a lot of that work in what was written up here by Austin. So, and then also I wanted to give a shout out to our maintenance staff who participated in the Pins for Kids. That was really.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
It was not a good bowling experience.
Scores. It was a great event.
But and they paid for it themselves. And so I was really proud of that for them. So they were a good group of people. Really proud of them. I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, Kara, come on.
Hi.
Hello.
He was showing me his bowling ball. So
What were the scores? Are you going to tell us?
more than I would have gotten. I think they all went over 100. Yeah, I didn't do it this year.
No.
Really, honestly, I didn't do it because
you
they
have
did it in
nothing.
the afternoon. I'm an early bird kind of
You,
gal.
you have nothing to worry about then, because I talked to somebody who bowled and got a 21. So you're good.
Yeah, I would
You're
have done
good.
I would have done like 40. So
You're good.
I don't have the bowling skills. I'm just the talking. So I have just been busy working on. It seems like every event I'm planning has a collaboration with a lot of people, and so I feel like I'm just doing contracts and reaching out to people and trying to put things together. But it's a lot of fun, and I love when people come alongside us and say, "Hey, we want to help with that." And so our total eclipse of the sun is coming together. We're going to have a DJ. Alan James came last week, and he said he wants to broadcast live from the event. So that's very exciting and fun. And then the health department called last week and said, hey, we'd love to volunteer. So now I have all my volunteers for the kids' activities. And so we're just getting all that put together. Earth Day, all the events, programs for spring break. We have 2 Park in a Boxes, one on Monday and one on Friday. And we also have art classes with Heidi. And so I was able to post a video and some pictures. So if your kids or grandkids are interested, we'd love for them to sign up. I'm also working on Daddy-Daughter Dance July 4th, and pretty much any event that's happening this year. I'm just trying to be really well prepared. Jan and I are putting together some summer programs for youth, and we are also talking about hiring some recreation staff for the summer.
Okay.
So we have just been so busy. I think this is the busiest we've ever been since I've
I
started.
can't remember ever being this busy, honestly.
And I actually like being busy. I'd rather be busy than bored. But I have never been bored in this job yet. So maybe next year, but it's really all fun. I feel really blessed to have people come alongside us and say, we want to be a part of your event. But really what Bill said touched my heart and made me cry, because we don't get that positive feedback very often. And when we do, it just makes me feel like we're doing something right. Connecting trails, we feel like it's connecting people and connecting families. And so we just love what we're doing,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Kevin, you're next.
I see a reoccurring theme of everybody being busy, so I'll stick with that.
We never doubted that.
We've been busy.
We don't doubt that out of any of you guys, so.
We have been busy. Like Jan spoke, we are in a season of, our hands are in a little bit of everything right now. A lot of growth we'll be seeing early this spring. A lot of things coming to fruition. Like I said last meeting, almost every single park is going to have something new or being revitalized in each park, almost every park. So that's kind of exciting, seeing all that movement. I will speak a little bit on the dog park. We've made great leaps. We have all of our fencing in-house. So we have it back at the shop right now, so we're ready to go. We have Total Fence has agreed to go ahead and install that for us in just a couple days' time, so it's not going to just be a bunch of us out there trying to figure it out. They have the expertise and the manpower to get it done in just a couple days, so a huge shout out to...
I watched them put up a fence over Columbia Elementary in about 2 days.
So I asked Tom about that, and he said, oh, yeah, it'll be the same. I was like...
It didn't take long at all, yeah.
Yeah, they have the knowledge and know-how, so we're very grateful for them to come along and give us a great price on that for sure. We're seeing, today was another fantastic day. We've started getting our playground put together up at the park there, seeing a lot of movement. We have some unruly weather coming our way, so we'll try to keep getting that going. We'll see
As long as it's not snow.
Monday.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're talking about mowing and snow, and so we're trying to figure out how to plow snow and mow at the same time. And then of course that right there, the seasons change, so we're actively out in our parks, cleaning up and trying to get things cleaned up, for the springtime, let people enjoy our parks.
Sure.
And get things looking presentable again.
The one thing that Kevin's had to deal with is because it's been warm, people expect restrooms to be open, but we also know that March is when we do get another big snow, or the temperatures can go up really high or they can go down really low. So that's why we have not opened our bathrooms right now.
Speaking of that, when are you going to turn on the water?
Tentatively, we're looking at the spring break-ish kind of time frame. If weather operates a couple weeks, we're trying.
And the only reason I ask is the middle school baseball team, the week of April 8th, will be over on Steinman Field twice. So I definitely want to make sure.
By that point, I do believe we'll be full functional by that time.
Okay, all right.
And we'll see a new roof on that building about that time, on that bathroom.
Okay.
We are kind of pushing the time frame for redoing the bathroom for the fall, just because of how many projects we're kind of in right now. We're going to kind of set for that fall. We will see a new roof put on by Reed Roof here that will match the current metal roofs of all the other buildings in that
New
park.
shelters,
Yeah.
So it'll all tie in together. So.
That time frame probably works out better too, because we're going to start getting really active at Fairview Park with kids practicing and playing baseball. So it's probably a better time frame anyway.
It really is. I mean, it's more feasible to, and they're in a condition that are still usable and accessible. And
Sure.
they need updated. I mean, they've been there 20.
Absolutely.
Well, those restaurants, we built them in '05, yeah.
05, so almost 20 years, and this will be the first really remodel to them, so they've lasted this long, and they'll last another season, and we will rebuild.
Good. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Dean, come on up here with your smiling face.
Yeah, we're busy.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, I know.
It's springtime on a golf course, so, maintenance-wise, we're always doing everything we're doing, as always. We mowed greens 4 times, we've mowed fairways, we've fertilized pretty much everything. Sticks is always an ongoing battle, so we're there. You've seen it, the course, actually, the guys have done a great job. We're ahead of schedule where we are a lot of times in the spring, which is good because on March 2nd, I believe, that Saturday, we did over 100 rounds, and on that Sunday, we did over 200 rounds. I've been there a long time, and it's been a long time since we've been over 200 rounds, and I don't know when we've been over 200 rounds in March. If you think about it, too, it's a late start in the morning because of the cold weather, and then it was dark by 7 o'clock then, too. So it was a crazy busy day. I mean, we had cars all the way down, lined up.
That Sunday, we had done about 10:30, and it was just packed.
Oh, and it went that way all day. It was fun, stressful. It was what we hoped for. We had 4 guys, me and 3 others in the clubhouse work at one time. We're all doing something, which
Good.
a lot of times we're a 1 or 2 man show in there. And so things, have to change a little bit. We have to hire, we need more staff in general, but we have to look at changing some things in the clubhouse if it continues to be that busy, just to be able to. It's just like right when I came here, we were so busy.
Yeah.
This evening, I mean, we're putting carts up, and it's me and Jim up there. That was all. So, I mean, it was
Yep.
pretty tough. And that's why I'll head back there, and I'm sure he's got most everything cleaned up by now. But we sold almost 200 season tickets. Pre-COVID, we were about 160. So that's, I have no idea how many we'll sell this
Well,
year.
you got one more coming. I just got to get up there and do it.
Yeah, so I mean, we were at 192 earlier today, so I wouldn't be surprised if we sold 4 or 5 more today. I don't know. But it's a very good run. The course is getting a lot of recognition with the Facebook that we do and Kyle, and the email blasts that we've been doing have been very popular with the golfers too. A lot of compliments on that. Lots of compliments on that stuff. I could go, I want to just kind of hit the highlights because, I know you guys have been here a while and everything. So we are working on a maintenance barn project. We have $100,000 in the budget, the city's budget for that. Originally supposed to be a pole barn, then we found out kind of originally it was supposed to be an extension onto the back of the barn. Found out that's where the fingers for the septic are. We can't go that way. So we're trying to find out some logistics and stuff there, but we're getting there, and I think I know where we want to go with it. But that's hopefully something that gets done this summer, and one that we'll have to probably get some asphalt work done at that point, which. We're working on the cart paths too, and planning and designing of them too. So that's 2 normally really big major projects, but obviously you guys know we have a lot bigger project that we're working on, and that's the clubhouse. And that's, full steam ahead on that. Had a meeting last night, very productive meeting, I felt. Lots of moving parts right now, I guess, best way to say it. And we have a meeting tomorrow, me and Kyle do, with the design team to talk about some of the things we want, the attributes, everything that's going into it because of everything. I don't know if there's anything else you want to elaborate on that or how detailed you want to get, but with the.
Well, I guess the one thing that was brought to our attention is that we need to get started on the design now. We can't afford, we need to have something ready to present to whatever contractor does our work and at least have something ready to go. And because our goal is to be in construction by the end of this year, and preferably closer to October if possible.
It's, with anything with the city government, it's tough to get everything, everything working together. And, I've never done a project like this, and I'm sure Jan's learned a lot, you know, I mean, there's things that terminology and what, you know, the money and things that I just sit back there and go, what the.
Do you have a place you're gonna operate out of, like, if they start tearing the building down in October, but it's 70 degrees in November and you got?
Well, right now, we believe we'll go on the same spot. Yeah,
But I'm saying, if they've torn this building down.
we don't believe they're gonna tear our building down before.
Oh, okay.
We'll be able to,
Yeah, originally that was the talk, but that hillside where it is not, you know, good. Well, if we do, we were gonna get a trailer and work out.
So you'll be in the old building until the new one's done, basically?
most likely.
That's the hope. Yep, that's the plan.
Most likely.
Yeah, like I said, there really are a lot of,
A lot of moving parts.
yeah, right now, so that's, you know.
So to add on to what Dean, when he's meeting on the design team tomorrow, I'm meeting with Ice Miller on a Zoom call about the financing, about the contract and the financing. So the RFP, I think we're looking at the Parks Foundation being the agent of the project. And if that's what happens, then we can go through normal bank financing, and we're not required to do as much, I don't know, maybe public notice, I guess, is what it.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, just
You know,
the
I mean-
normal city.
Operations, yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we can choose the contractor we want, and we can choose the design we want, and I think it just will go a lot smoother, so a lot faster, and it's gonna save us money too. I guess that's what it really comes down to, is if we
Yeah.
can save money, so.
And they said, like Dan was mentioning earlier, was if we were ready to, you know, had all, like, go ahead to do this right now with a contractor, and we started the design process like we are tomorrow, they said it's 6 months before they build. Because it's 2 months on the design, another month for something else, and then they said it's 10 to 12 weeks for the structure. if that makes sense.
Materials and stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, they said basically you're looking at 6 months from, you know, if we would, you know, walk in there and say, hey, I hit the lottery tonight, we're doing it. So, you know, it would still be 6 months.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
all righty?
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Visitors' comments. Okay. Park Board members' comments. Eamon?
No comment.
Mr. McCord?
No comment.
Imagine that. It's been a long day.
Jason?
I think I'm okay.
Okay, well, as usual, I just want to thank Jan and Kelly, Kara, Kevin, Dean, Kyle, and all the Parks Department employees for doing a fabulous job. We're now into, as
It's it, we're here.
it's really silly season,
Yeah, it
right,
is.
Kevin? Yeah, so keep up the good work, and with that being said, we are adjourned at 7:06.